time for the next campfire story, it seems. Hey, Ani, I know you're getting snacks. Would you like me to wait for you before I explain the next story?
No, I read ahead earlier, so you guys can keep going without me. It's fine.
Alright, that's fine by me. You should get excited for these. I guess Lyralin's club campfire has been a failure for her either. Alright, story time. Before we begin, question for you all. Who here believes in heaven?
Rowan, what the hell do you mean by that?
I mean exactly what I said. Who believes in heaven?
En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo, Espíritu Santo. Oh, shit.
Like, in the religious sense? Well, I guess we all grew up somewhat exposed to it, but none of us really practiced.
Excellent. Religion in the multiversal context is weird. I'm certain whatever God you believe in is real, but there are so many others. When a god creates a universe, we call it a creation god, and they are ultimately powerful within that universe.
I'm sorry, what?
But the space between the universes also exists, and that space also has its own god, so to speak. This god, however, is less real in the direct sense. Instead, it is real as an idea. The space that is ruled as a series of ideas, then, is called the Noosphere.
And you expected us to believe this because?
Admittedly, I don't. You have no reason to, and I've presented no evidence. But this control over concepts and ideas is a common theme for the jailers, and will be a common theme going forward. If you control the literal existence of concepts, you control everything. Everything is a concept in some form, and so is any change to it. This next story is about exactly that.
Okay, I'm alive. What the hell do you mean all gods are real?
Not all. Some. Many, actually. And probably yours.
Holy fuck, how am I broken real? So am I!
No, you probably aren't going to hell. Death is a lot more complicated than that. You may face heaven or hell in your sense, maybe one piece of your soul will, but in some form you may return to the Noosphere, the realm of ideas.
I'm sorry. What do you mean, one part of my soul will?
It's exactly what you think I said. Your soul isn't one concept nor being. Your own idea of yourself internally is simply the combination of all concepts, ideas, and fragments that make you, you. Some piece of this will face heaven or hell, maybe, but much of it will likely return to the sphere of ideas once again.
Ay, coño! No fui a
Hey,
escuela católica
I
durante
thought you hadn't
años.
read ahead yet. How do you know all this?
It's in the first paragraph. Here, give it a read. You'll see what I mean.
Okay. Well, might as well get into character then. Marion Wheeler used strong monastic medication nearly every day of her life. Among the identity warriors of Mobile Task Force Omega Zero Era Orin, it was never in doubt that, on the occasion of her death, she would ascend to the Noosphere. She would become a Batter Ramjin infomorphic entity, or a Type 6 volitional spiritual apparition, or a ghosty, or really however she wished to describe her new self. Then she would join the Citizens of Heaven and continue the Antimemetics Division's fight from her higher ground, likely with fearsome effectiveness. But Wheeler died under terrible circumstances. The Class Z drug which killed her did more than reinforce her memory. It destroyed her ability to do anything but remember. She ascended, arriving in the Noosphere to a hero's welcome. But what arrived was an ideoform so severely brain damaged that it was barely able to communicate. After she was made as comfortable as possible, and an initial diagnosis had been made, Sanchez offhandedly described her as a Swiss watch filled with glue. Ulrich yelled at him for saying it, and would have hit him for his callousness.
How can she make it to heaven sick? Isn't that just hell?
The director apologized, in the corporate, false way in which he always apologized for anything.
How much more does she have to go through? Who deserves this life?
It hurt all of them. Regardless of personal investment in the mission, it was difficult not to care for someone whom they had watched and guarded for years. They continued to take care of her in the same way they always had, in shifts. Wheeler, dimly aware of her condition, worked against the problem in the instinctive, fierce way she worked against every problem. She slowly became more coherent, but never became herself again. Ulrich, on her shifts, saw Wheeler spent most of her existence reliving her final moments over and over. She would recite what seemed to be half of a conversation with SCP-3125 itself, a conversation which several of Omega Zero said they recognized from Operation Cold City.
Ideas can be killed.
Marion, where is Bart Hughes? He's the only one who can stop this now. We know he's alive, or he'd be here with us. Just a hint, just a clue. Please.
She was trying. Ulrich knew what she was trying to say. I don't know. I can't remember something I never knew in the first place. But all she could manage was...
With better ideas.
Keep pushing her. At least once per shift.
The questioning is causing her considerable distress. We know she doesn't know anything. It's cruel to keep trying, sir.
SCP-3125 is coming. With the quick arm of the Antimemetics division eliminated, there's nothing left which can stop it. Our real-world investigative capabilities are negligible. Hughes' sister doesn't know anything, and this is our sole remaining lead. I know you admire Wheeler more than anyone.
She mentored me. She drove me to be the best person I have ever been. She honored my memory when I died. My own family wouldn't.
Ulrich?
We are the saints who guard. I will guard her.
Sanchez paused. Ulrich's devotion to Wheeler, and the lesser devotion of the others, irked him mildly. He viewed Wheeler as, well, competent enough, but ultimately a failure. She was as much of a failure as everybody else in the division, with only the uninteresting distinction of being the last of her failures. But he was vulnerable to the kind of rhetoric Ulrich had just employed. It stoked a kind of fire inside of him. Heaven knew he used it in his own communications often enough, for exactly the same purpose.
All right. The trawl in reality is continuing. There's a faint chance we'll find something of substance. Carry on as you were. No questions.
SCP-3125 incarnated the following winter. Its first act upon its arrival, or depending on the degree of intelligence agency you ascribe to it, the first side effect of its arrival, was the neutralization of the Foundation. In the space of a night, an international staff of tens of thousands disappeared into oblivion, or became amnesiac, or simply dropped brain dead where they were standing. Foundation sites became hollow, inaccessible dead zones. A few anomalies broke containment in the chaos to devastating effect. Thousands of others were choked into irrelevant obscurity beneath SCP-3125's antimemetic pressure. The world can only end one way, it seemed to be declaring, gouging its statement into the flesh of reality. My world, my way. SCP-3125 had skirmished with Omega Zero before, but it had always been unclear how much information about Omega Zero it retained between skirmishes. In fact, it was unclear, fundamentally speaking, how SCP-3125 thought at all. Its behavior was inconsistent, unpredictable, and frightening. Records of its activities were cognitohazardous, discouraging close analysis. In the end, the question proved to be academic. When SCP-3125 arrived, whether it knew Omega Zero was there or not, it took no special action against it, and it had no need to. Most of Omega Zero's members' anchors were Foundationers or Foundation adjacent. With those people's minds blown away in the first strike, the dense web of mutual memory which had held the task force together since its formation tore loose. More than half of the task force was cast into the void and died, the final real death they had evaded for years. Around dawn, Eastern Standard Time, Sanchez announced it was no longer possible for Omega Zero to stay together as a single entity. He split the remains of the task force into three. Ulrich and the malformed memory of Wheeler were assigned to the same sub-team. Sanchez gave final instructions to continue to search for Bart Hughes, or any kind of ally among the living, be they Foundation or GOI or civilian. But the instructions were confusing and incomplete. It was because Sanchez didn't have an iota of faith in what he was saying. He couldn't see a way to the far side of this. It was little more than survival now. It was about fighting out terms on which to face death. Ulrich never saw him again. She fled, with Wheeler and the others in their little sub-team, across the face of a Noosphere which was rapidly becoming uninhabitable. The world was warping around SCP-3125's presence at the core of human thought, like real space around a black hole. It was building things, real physical artifacts in the center of cities. It was extruding them as if from spores, monumental concrete structures in which people were being fed in dizzying numbers. It was difficult to know what was happening inside of the structures. Some of the millions were dying in there. Some weren't. Ulrich didn't look. They found out the ugly way that it was dangerous to look closely. The sub-team was steadily running out of anchors. It could have been a systematic purge, but it could have just as easily been simple statistics. Roving physical and psychic anomalies, vast in their own right and slave to SCP-3125, were combing the Earth, stripping it of objectors and feeding them into SCP-3125's maw. Ulrich's own anchor, a woman who had never known what the Foundation was, but who remembered Ulrich with a heavy heart nearly every day, was killed around that time. Found in the hills where she'd been hiding and dragged down into the inferno. Ulrich wasn't looking. She didn't find out until it was too late. She felt the thread of memory come loose and followed it, panicking, past its flapping end and down into physical reality where there was nothing. A collapsed tent, a scuffed-out fire pit where everything important had been piled up and burnt.
Who was she?
Another Omega-0 operative asked her. Ulrich had never spoken about it.
I only knew her for 2 days, when I was younger. She saved my life, that's all.
There it was, she realized. She was a career Foundationer, an experienced mobile task force operative for God's sake. She had gone through unimaginable horrors and stacked them up as experience and kept going. But this, Julia's tent and silence and no Julia, was the worst thing she had ever seen. Short of hope and resources, the sub-team had to split again, this time into pairs. Ulrich stayed with Wheeler, clinging to her like a rock, remembering her and being remembered in turn. A cooperating pair could survive untethered for a little while, but not forever. They found shelter on a distant edge of the Noosphere, in a clutch of arcane structures left there millennia earlier by a long-dead human culture. They were followed, though they didn't realize. One night, Wheeler managed to talk.
Adam.
It was the first thing she had managed to say, which wasn't a direct quote from her own expiring moments.
You remember him?
The sentence came out agonizingly slowly, as if each syllable was like climbing a mountain.
I remember everything.
Ulrich stared. She knew that Class Z monastics made it impossible for the subject to forget. She also knew that they could cause long-erased memories to reassert themselves. Some of them, anyways, depending on the mechanism and intensity of the erasure process. She had hoped that Wheeler's memories of her husband were permanently gone, but she knew they ended in a terrible place.
I don't know where Adam is.
It was the truth. Nobody did. Omega-0 operatives had, with some solemnity, observed the erasure of Adam Wheeler's mind, but out of respect for Marion's decision and to preserve Adam's safety, they had intentionally diverted their attention during his relocation, destroying their records.
He might be alive. I don't know.
Daisy, look.
She was holding something in her hands, a pitiful, glowing ideoform, a thought of someone. It was him, a thread of memory which led right to him. It was some kind of miracle, it had to be, that Wheeler had picked him out from the livid, insentiate mass of victims which now formed SCP-3125's core. He was nearly unrecognizable. He was overrun with SCP-3125. At first glance, it seemed to occupy every nerve in his body, but there was a flickering seed in the back of his mind, a final remnant of what he had once been. It wasn't growing, there was too much pressure, but it was trying to. He was pushing back. Ulrich boggled. She had known that there was something weird and highly rare about the way Adam Wheeler's mind was structured, a kind of thick-skulled resistance to external interference. In fact, she knew that thousands and thousands of people in the world shared that immunity, but that was another way to say that among the billions, such people were fantastically rare and difficult to locate. Efforts by Omega Zero to locate them and recruit them as allies had failed. They did not look special or behave radically different from others. There was no signal flare, which went up. It was possible that they were all dead. It was conceivable that Adam Wheeler was the only one of them left in the world. But he was left. He was alive.
I see him. I'll get him out of there. I'll bring him to you.
Her stomach was knotting up with the sheer thought of attempting it. Wheeler didn't respond. 6 original coherent words had exhausted her. She was crazed with frustration at how incapable she had become. She felt as if she was pinned beneath a huge lead block of memory. It hurt to think. It hurt to exist. Ulrich's ability with the physical universe was extremely limited. Other operatives of Omega Zero had been able to create full-on poltergeist activity, changing the temperatures of room and throwing furniture around, but she was not that kind of specialist. She could do little more than place phone calls and write on walls. Those abilities weren't likely to get Adam Wheeler moving. Simple words were never really going to reach him. The man wasn't even truly conscious. What Ulrich could do was something that the task force dubbed identity offense. She could interfere with the internals of living minds to make things happen. Usually enemies, usually the mental equivalent of blunt force trauma to make them die. But she could act with surgical precision, if it was called for. Operating on Adam Wheeler was difficult and time-consuming. His mind was tough, and it was continually bathed in SCP-3125's radioactive presence. Ulrich would cut and then wait as Wheeler's mind self-healed, which took days, and then she would cut again. The seedling metaphor served well. The operation reminded her of tending to a plant. If nothing else, the whole procedure took real-time weeks. The patience required to keep her hands off for a few days at a time was nearly inhuman. Wheeler said nothing else in that time. She was conserving energy. It felt as if she had a finite number of words left in her, and speaking each one brought her an inch closer to the end. She had to wait.
He'll be here. Soon.
Now, Ulrich watches from a great, abstract distance as Adam Wheeler folds up. Marion Wheeler is dead. Finally, truly dead. And Adam Wheeler's mind is breaking apart. It's an awful and incredible thing to watch. Even passing into the maw of SCP-3125 and back wasn't enough to permanently break him. But this was it, the silver bullet. This was the way to hurt Adam Wheeler in such a way that he would never recover. Present his wife to him, a brain-damaged wreck, just in time for her to die. Ulrich writes on the blackboard, off to one side so as not to mar the image of Marion, and in different handwriting.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Adam, please come back to the phone. I need your help.
Adam is prostrate on the floor and becoming catatonic. He doesn't hear it when Ulrich tries calling the other office phone, the one on the other desk. And she, too, is dying now. She and Marion were anchoring one another as best they could, but it's the end of the line. She has, perhaps, hours.
All right.
She says to no one. There is no one else left. She rolls up her figurative sleeves. This will not be too difficult for her. Adam Wheeler's revived memories of his wife shine inside of him, and around the edge, she can see the faint scar where they were burnt out the first time. She has a better vantage point. She can do a cleaner, more permanent job. This will hurt, just as much as it did then.
I need her.
Adam is still face down.
Don't take her. Please.
You need to save the world. There is nobody else.
To hell with the world. It can burn.
He recovers a second time. He's fine, upbeat, game, eager to get moving. She explains everything she can, tersely, just the keywords: the Foundation, the Antimemetics division, the situation, the objective. He absorbs it surprisingly well. He asks cognate follow-up questions, which is always a positive sign.
This thread of memory which was sustaining you, don't I count? I'll remember you.
Your memory could be strong enough, but you just don't know me well enough.
That's regrettable.
Ulrich tells him, in detail, how to find Site 41. It's going to be an immense trek, made significantly longer by Wheeler's need to avoid urban areas. She describes the antimemetic shroud which obscures Site 41 and most other Foundation sites, a shroud she and the rest of Omega Zero found to be totally impenetrable, a shroud which Wheeler, if he prepares himself, might be able to walk straight through. She warns him about the psychotic, hurricane-like anomalies and the violent, roaming agglomerations of SCP-3125 occupied non-humans. She describes a few techniques for avoiding their attention. She decides not to voice her private hope that, as a recent escapee from SCP-3125's interior, Wheeler will still smell right to them and be able to pass. She doesn't want him becoming overconfident and incautious. She explains basic survival skills.
Well, I hike, I camp.
Still, he has never hiked or camped in an occupied, foreign world. He has never gone months without electricity and plumbing. They find they have plenty to talk about. They are on the phone for long enough that Adam notices that the red sun outside of the office window isn't moving. It hasn't risen, and it hasn't set. Either the world stopped turning completely, or the thing hanging out there isn't the sun.
Unknown. There was a foundation which could answer this question once.
Seems like this Foundation has the world's best interest at heart.
The Foundation was never so simple.
Miss Ulrich, I sense we're coming to the end of our time together.
Yes.
The odds stacked against you were tremendous, but you saved my life. And the odds stacked against me are, well, still appalling, but significantly better, thanks to you. I'll do my level best, and I will remember you, even if it doesn't make a difference.
Kill this thing, Mr. Wheeler. When you get the chance, don't hesitate.
I think I can do that.
And at the same time, someone behind Ulrich laughs, sharply, once. She turns. There's a man there, standing with her in the Noosphere, a gaunt, younger man with an awful, opened-mouthed grin. He has been waiting, silently and excitedly, for an unknowable amount of time for Ulrich to notice him. And now that she does, he gets everything he could possibly want from her reaction. A rush of delectable horror and alarm. Then, he cuts her off, killing her instantly before she can get one syllable of warning to Wheeler. Wheeler hears nothing, a faint click, and then a dial tone. He hangs up.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So heaven is still real, and yet you can still die up there? What is this, double death?
Well, it's only a fragment of Ulrich's being that died in this case, and it's less death and more cessation of existence. If no one is there to remember you, then your memory, the concept of you, and therefore your being, fade.
What the hell, Rowan?
Have you heard that one quote about this? I think it was in a popular song.
Wait, I know this one. I heard you die twice. Once when they bury you in the grave, and the second time is the last time someone mentions your name.
Did you just quote Macklemore at me?
Yep.
Seems like it.
Okay. Actually, now that I think about it, new topic. What was that about Ulrich erasing Adam's memory again? How many times is this poor man gonna have to have his brain messed with? That cannot be good for his psyche.
To be fair, he is the only one who can do this, so it's kind of for the greater good. But yeah, it's still pretty messed up.
Yeah, and you can say that again.
Either way, we are making it to the last piece of anthology. There are 3 official files remaining. Thankfully, whoever read these last bound them together with an author's summary.
I mean, that's convenient. The library almost never makes things easy on us.
That's for certain. Anyways, this next story is about Bartholomew Hughes, one of the big names from the story earlier. This would be the moment where that mind monster nearly won, to put it simply.
Jesus Christ.
Lyrillin, I think you would be a good fit for reading this one. Are you up for it? I know you just read the last one.
Man, you want me to read again? Alright. Gene,
Yeah, man. You rang?
get me some of those sugarless gummies, please. It's my time to shine once again.
Lyrillin!
Right. Without weed, please.
Weed? You know I don't do that shit, man. I'm 100% all natural.
He did shrooms in our apartment last week.
Like I said, 100% natural, man. No preservatives, nothing funky, just pure brain juice.
Okay, just to be certain, shrooms free as well, please. Just to be safe. Alright, well, he gets me that. Let's get started. Hello everyone, this is Gaia in Post here to give you the credits. I am recording this at 3 a.m. I just figured out all of my old editing software and got all of the old cool editing tools back that I used to use for Welcome to the Foundation Seasons 1 and 2, so you might have heard a little bit of it with the phone lines here, but regardless, you have something to look forward to for future episodes now. I can actually be a good editor again for the first time in well over a year. Though, good might be a little bit debatable, but anyways, as we close, I want to give a special thank you to those in real life who made this episode possible. In particular, I would like to thank the person who made all the music you can hear in the background, including the music playing right now. That's Kevin MacLeod. You can listen to his music and more at incomptech.net or com. Anyways, Google Kevin MacLeod and you can find his music. Next up, I'd like to thank the author. His name is QNTM. I recently was informed that's probably pronounced Quantum. The story that we read today is called Unthreaded from the SCP Wiki. He actually also put this into a book called There Is No Antimemetics Division. I actually have a copy right next to me as I say this, and I highly recommend. Finally, I'd like to thank the voice actors that you heard today, like Kit, who played the role of Ani, Esme, who played the role of Catalina, Peach, who played the role of Rowan, John, who played the roles of Jean and Adam Wheeler, Echo, who played the role of Marion, Taya, who played the role of Ulrich, Emily, who played the role of Sanchez, and I guess I have to thank myself here. My name's Gaia, I'm the producer, editor, one of the writers, and I played the role of Lyrillin, the main reader of today's story. So, thank you so much for listening, and have a good one.